So when my alarm sounded this morning, the first thing I thought about was the quarterback competition between Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo because the takes are always churning in my mind. From that point, my mind and my focus shifted to what I'm going to eat for breakfast. And I knew it was going to be some Magic Spoon cereal because Magic Spoon makes me feel magical. So if you want to feel magical as well and get $5 off your checkout for the healthiest and tastiest cereal out there, go to magicspoon.com/49ers Report. Niner Gang, what up? Welcome into the 49ers Report right here on Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Senior. Coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the latest hype and buzz around Trey Lance, and also I'm going to break down some more potential surprise roster cuts because the Niners are trying to get that roster down to 53 men on Tuesday. They're going to have some really difficult decisions to make. First, let's get to this tweet that came from Jordan Schultz of ESPN. I thought it was pretty interesting what he had to say and report on Trey Lance and the Niners quarterback situation. He took to Twitter to say this: growing buzz inside league circles that the 49ers should start Trey Lance over Jimmy Garoppolo. Spoke with 2 executives, 2 coaches, and 1 scout, all of whom believe Lance gives San Francisco the best chance to win. Despite being raw, which we've talked about here on the channel, Lance's freakish arm talent and athleticism is scary. An NFL scout had this to say to Jordan Schultz about everything that we're talking about and breaking down here. Trey Lance has an absolute cannon. I think Kyle Shanahan's ability to design plays combined with Lance's athletic ability and ridiculous arm strength will offset Jimmy G's advantage as a more accurate quarterback at this point that understands the offense better. Goes in line with what I said earlier this week, that if you play Trey Lance, you can get away with him being raw because his ridiculous athletic upside kind of makes up for what Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have from an arm strength and escapability standpoint. It's only a matter of time, in my opinion, that Trey Lance is obviously going to play, whether that is as the starter or the backup or he's involved in certain packages. Time will only tell. He's going to play regardless. And I'm thinking more and more about this, that maybe Kyle Shanahan is going to explore and test a 2-quarterback system. I'm not saying one like you see sometimes in the college ranks where Trey Lance gets a drive or 2 and then Jimmy Garoppolo comes in out of the bullpen after that, or vice versa. I'm just thinking that because Kyle Shanahan has experimented with Trey Lance getting first-team reps in some run-heavy packages as well as throwing a curveball toward opposing defenses, with Trey Lance also throwing the football, that a 2-quarterback system could be in play and it should be seriously talked about. Kyle Shanahan, we know this, is going to cook up some ideas, and he's not unveiling anything in the preseason because why should he? When it comes time for the regular season, this 49ers offense could be very, very exciting for those reasons that I mentioned. Also, yesterday we talked about Trey Lance getting some packages and getting some red zone plays and interchanging with the first-team offense with Jimmy G back on Wednesday. That happened yet again on Thursday as we record this here on the 49ers Report, that Trey Lance was replacing Jimmy Garoppolo during some red zone plays, and then Jimmy G also came in during some red zone packages and was able to complete some touchdown passes. Who the hell knows what's going inside the mind of Kyle Shanahan? I do know this. He's cooking up some 5-star meals with this Niners offense, and they are going to be explosive with the element of both Jimmy G and Trey Lance. 49ers preseason finale coming your way on Sunday night. 49ers against the Raiders. Little bit of a rivalry game going on, even though the Raiders, such frauds for leaving the Bay and going to Las Vegas. So to show that you're ready for this preseason finale, get into the comment section right now and type, "The Bay is ours." Show those fraud Raider Nation fans that the 49ers fans, Niner faithful, Niner Empire really shows out, and we really run the Bay, because somehow Raider fans think that even though they're in Las Vegas, they still have control over the Bay. Show them what's up. Also, predict the score between the Niners and the Raiders in the comment section right now. We'll be doing a watch party. Kickoff around 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific on Sunday. Make sure you subscribe and you join us, because that watch party, it could get crazy with myself and Mitchell Renz doing a simulcast on our 49ers channel right here, as well as our Las Vegas Raiders channel. Coming your way on the 49ers report right now, some surprise roster cuts. Niners set to cut down their roster to 53 players on Tuesday, and it's been a really busy past couple of weeks for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch because over the last couple of weeks, they've had to trim the roster by 5 players. Now, much more than that, going down from 80 to 53. How about Richie James as a surprise roster cut? I think this is in play. And it's a surprise because going into the preseason, going into training camp, a lot of people didn't expect Richie James to get cut from this roster. He's definitely a contributor on special teams as a returner, in the kicking game as well as on punt returns. So he certainly has value there. But this is why I think that Richie James is expendable. The drops have been a massive problem throughout camp as well as in the preseason. And they continue to surface in practices as well as on the game field. You have to be able to rely on your ladder wide receivers on this roster to make plays when they come into the game. Because if they don't, it's really problematic for your offense in terms of gaining momentum and establishing momentum, and you need those guys when they come on the field to produce because they're being thrown and thrust into a situation where they're being called upon to do so. And Richie James' stock has fallen while the stock of other wide receivers has certainly gone up throughout 2 preseason games. Another wide receiver who I think can be on the outside looking in is Jalen Hurd. Nobody could have predicted that going into training camp, off-season workouts, that Hurd was not going to be on this 53-man roster. It's crazy the injury misfortune that he has had to deal with in his first 2 seasons, now in his 3rd so far since getting drafted in the 3rd round of the 2019 draft out of Baylor. Now, here's something to monitor. Is Hurd going to play on Sunday against the Raiders? That might be in play because for the first time in training camp, he has practiced on back-to-back days. But here's the deal. Hurd hasn't practiced really at all throughout training camp, hasn't played in the preseason, has not taken a regular season snap since getting drafted in 2019, and has only played in 1 preseason game. So his stock for me has gone down even though he's practiced on consecutive days, whereas the stock for some other receivers on this roster has increased and gotten better throughout training camp in the preseason. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Mohamed Sanu, Trent Sherfield are all locks on this roster. I think Sherfield should be slated in as the number 3 or 4 wide receiver on this team. But would you take Nsimba Webster over Jalen Hurd if Hurd can't stay healthy? Would you ride with Jawan Jennings because he's a little bit more consistent than a guy like Hurd? Do you like Benjamin and what he flashed catching that touchdown pass from Lance last week? You can count on those guys just a little bit more than Hurd, and that's the predicament that we're in. That's the predicament that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are in when they're trying to make a very massive decision as to who makes this roster and who does not. So Niner gang, predict which receiver will get cut in the comment section come 53-man roster cut down day. Get those names in the comment section right now. I think Shanahan's going to keep 5, maybe 6 receivers on this team, so that means that a couple of guys could get cut. Speaking of cuts, I cut out awful cereal from my diet because I got really fat when I ate it. But luckily for me, and luckily for you, you can reintroduce cereal to your diet with Magic Spoon. You can cop yourself a box, maybe even 2, 3, 4, whatever you want, and you can get $5 off in the process by going to magicspoon.com/49ers report. Not only does Magic Spoon use clean ingredients that are actually good for you, it's packed with protein. 13 to 14 grams of protein per serving, 0 grams of sugar, only 4 grams of net carbs, and the flavors are guaranteed to rock your taste buds. You can compare the ingredients with Magic Spoon cereal to the ingredients of some other traditional brands out there. It doesn't even compare. So one more time, go to magicspoon.com/49ers report, and when you plug that link in, you get $5 off when you go to your checkout. It's cereal that is tasty for you, but it's actually healthy, which is really important in the modern day of 2021. Modern day running backs, Elijah Mitchell is certainly one of those because he can run the ball between the tackles, he can stretch out to the sideline and get around the edge with some speed, or he can catch some passes out of the backfield as well. I really like Elijah Mitchell as a player, but didn't practice for a while, so his roster standing is in somewhat of a question mark. And he's coming off a little bit of a hip injury, practicing back-to-back days like Jalen Hurd on Wednesday and Thursday. But this backfield for the Niners is just so crowded, it's talented, and it's really competitive. And against the Chargers, I thought Wayne Gallman, a free agent acquisition, as well as JaMychal Hasty, a developmental player on this roster, played very, very well in that game, and both have their own blend of skill sets. And when you take a look at this running back depth chart for the Niners, not only has Kyle Shanahan and this coaching staff done a tremendous job of developing these running backs, all of them kind of bring a little bit of a different wiggle and a little bit of a different edge to this team. And how many do you go with if you're Lynch and Shanahan? Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon, Wayne Gallman. Probably right now it's safe to say that those are the top 3 running backs on this depth chart. But after that, I like JaMychal Hasty. I like Elijah Mitchell. Jeff Wilson is on PUP. Hasty has a little bit of a fumbling problem, but he's a really physical back, and I think he could become something down the road. He's flashed that in the preseason as well as last year as well. So if you do decide to cut Elijah Mitchell, who you drafted out of Louisiana this past draft, the hope would be is that he clears waivers and you're able to bring him back and place him on the practice squad so you can continue to develop him, having trouble talking today, in hopes that Elijah Mitchell down the road is going to be that dual threat running back that you saw when you took him out of Louisiana, because I think the cat can certainly play. So I want to put you in the seat of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and you must pick one if you have to pick one, trimming the roster down to 53 players. Is it going to be JaMychal Hasty? Is it going to be Elijah Mitchell? Get your votes in right now.